Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Atlantic Canada. Good morning, all you companies and exporters and would-be exporters. We're delighted to have you all here today to talk about online in Latin America, how we think that you can use websites, online marketing, your online business development tools to reach out and generate leads, build brand awareness, and boost your sales and exports in Latin America. So that's the topic of the day. We're really glad that you could all join us today. And just while the last of you are logging on and sharpening pencils, I'm going to sort of introduce ourselves just very quickly. And for those of you who have attended other webinars, this Atlantic Canada webinar series, we're delighted to have you back. And for newcomers, we're delighted to be here with you and to share our experiences. We've invited Aaron Smith is here today, the program manager for the CBDC, and really the main organizer and administrator for the Atlantic Canada Online Global Programs. So she is absolutely the key person to get in touch with if you have an interest in these programs, if you'd like to apply, if you are struggling with your application, or anything like that. Aaron is tirelessly good-humored and will give you efficient, on-the-spot, good-humored responses for anything with regards to the Atlantic Online Global Programs. So Aaron, as I said, program manager for the CBDC, Nova Scotia Association of CBDCs. I am also really delighted to be joined today by my colleague Samantha, Senior Online Business Development Manager at IBT Online. And Samantha's going to be helping me. Actually, she's originally from Argentina, so it's perfect that she's here helping me today online in Latin America and adding her particular expertise on that, which I know you'll all appreciate. And then me, my name is Susanna Hardy. I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online, and it's a real delight to be with you all today. So we're going to be talking about the webinar is about 45 minutes long, and we've left time at the end for questions. Please do put questions in the chat box. We're very delighted to answer and get back to you on any questions as well. We do also have a little tiny survey at the end. It's just 4 questions long, really, really short, just to help us steer forwards any other webinars. And we have a couple of polls during the webinar as well, which we'll be asking you to fill out, and we'd really like to have your responses on. One last thing as well, si vous êtes plus confortable en français, n'hésitez pas, sur la fin, en termes de questions, on répondra en français. Just also quickly, who we are as a company. So IBT Online, we're a private company. We specialize in online business development tools for companies. That is building websites, managing websites, doing online marketing, e-commerce websites for companies, particularly who want to go internationally. So we do things called website localization and online marketing and e-commerce, as I mentioned, for companies who really say, I want to stretch out beyond my borders, go internationally, go global. So there you go. So we've been in business since 2002. And we are really, really delighted as of this year, very recently, to start some programs with Canada and Atlantic provinces and look at rolling out the online global programs for the Atlantic provinces. So that's what we're all about here. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. First, in terms of our agenda today, we're going to just recap just very quickly what the Atlantic Canada online global programs are for you, for those who are interested and want to know more about that. And Aaron's going to talk just quickly about how to apply. And then we're going to dive straight into sort of the online environment in Latin America, sort of both the major characteristics and then a little tiny focus on each of the main countries. Then we're going to look at the tools that work best in Latin America to engage, to drive leads, generate leads, engage with prospects, and hopefully convert those prospects as well into full sales. Then at the end, we're just going to sort of recap about the Atlantic Canada Online Global Programs. What are the options? Give you a few little case studies so you can sort of see, is that right for you as a company? And then finally, as I said, we've got some sort of little resources to give you, as well as question and answer time. So as I said, do pop your questions into the question box. So with that, let's start with the Atlantic Canada, what we've called the helping hand. So as I said, we're really delighted to be involved with the Atlantic provinces, the 4 provinces, and we created a page on our website, which is IBT Online. The website is ibt.onl. And on our website, we have a dedicated page just for the Atlantic provinces, where we try to regroup all the information possible for you that we find, and you know, these webinars, for example, or what the websites, what the localized websites would mean for you as a company. How would you get websites, and so on. And it's really a reflection of the work and the enthusiasm and the dedication of your individual provinces, from Nova Scotia to Labrador or PEI, New Brunswick, all coming together and saying we need some dedicated resources to help these companies, to help our companies now in these times, but also, you know, post a vaccine. Our companies need dedicated business development tools that are online. So websites, online marketing, e-commerce sites need to up the game a little bit, and let's throw some resources at that and really dedicate some resources to that. So again, we were very impressed with these 4 provinces coming together and saying, let's build something together. So as I said, we have a page dedicated to the program on our website, which lists the webinars in particular. And that's also where you can register for any webinars as well. These are the ones that have already been. So, you know, if you're interested in more in finding out about global e-commerce or what it means to have a localized website, you can go back and listen to recordings. Please also note that we've just added a new one. We've added online in the USA. I hear Bruce Springsteen behind me, but online in the USA, because it looks like quite a few of you have an interest in building out websites that can reach more into a potential USA market. So we'll be talking a bit more about the program later, but I want to also bring in Aaron to talk a little bit about the CBDC and how to apply. So, Aaron.
Perfect. Thanks, Susanna. So thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Erin with the CBDCs. We are the delivery agent for this project, and the funding support for this project is made possible through the Atlantic Trade and Investment Growth Agreement. That's a partnership of the federal government through ACOA and the 4 Atlantic provincial governments. So the government's really made it a priority to help companies get access to the help they need to export. And in today's environment and moving forward, that's online. It's digital tools, online selling. It's kind of the way to go. So just wanted to note, if you need any additional support, if you've got any questions, I can connect you to the proper person with ACOA or with each of the 4 provinces if you've got some export questions or want to see what else is out there available for you. And as you can see, we're able to pivot. So part of the polls that were coming up in some of the past webinars showed that the USA was something that people were really interested in. So went back to our folks in government. They said, absolutely, if it's a need, we'll add it in there and make that happen. So really great to see that collaboration happening. And I'll mention quickly the second component of the online global program, that is the website localization. Funding for that. If you're not sure what website localization is all about, go back and watch the first webinar. It'll tell you all about what that entails. We do have funding up to $15,000 for 20 companies to create those localized websites using the services of IBT Online. We will be accepting applications right through to the end of the webinar series, which is now December the 17th. So you have 2 extra days on there to get your application in now. And I'll come back on if there's any questions at the end about that program. So hope you enjoyed today's session. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin. And we will put the direct links for the applications into the chat box for you all later if you have an interest and wanted to pick that up. So as Erin said, this is a program where you can apply up to the 17th of December. After that, it's closed for applicants for localized websites, which are basically international websites for looking and feeling and being understood and doing business locally in international markets. So let's now turn to the subject matter of the day, Latin America Online, and I'm going to get ask Samantha to step in and talk to us a little bit about the Americas Online.
Excellent. Thank you, Susanna. So Latin America has always been a region with huge economic potential, composed of 33 countries with a combined population of almost 600 million people, and with a large amount of natural resources. Latin America as a region offers massive potential demand, numerous materials for export, and significant latent production capability. So with more mobile connections than people and more than 3/4 of the population online, it's important for businesses to know that people in the Americas, including in Latin America, are online and it's growing. So in January 2020, Hootsuite showed that more than 18 million people became internet users, and more than 38 million became active social media users, meaning people that log on to a social media site more than once in 30 days. So to take advantage of this online environment in Latin America, there's a few things that you guys need to know. The first thing is that Google is king. If you take a look at these numbers, Google has over a 90% share in Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Venezuela, Bolivia, and Peru, with having 96% of the share in Peru, which is pretty impressive. What's important to know about Google is that Google is 192 country and region specific search engines, and each search engine is localized to the market that it's in. So Google Peru is going to look a bit different from Google Argentina or Google Mexico or Google Brazil. And Google will always try to come up with the most relevant results for the people from where they're searching from. And it takes into consider a lot of different things that we'll get into. But the first thing to keep in mind is that keywords are different for different places. So here we have an example of car in Spanish. So here we have the example of car in Spanish in Mexico and in Spain. So if you are a company that's selling some sort of trinket or piece or anything for having to do with cars, you really need to know what word people use to search for the word car. So in this example, in Mexico, 73% of the people searching for car use the word auto, versus in Spain, 91% use the word coche. So if you are a company that's looking to sell in Spain and your whole website has auto written all over it, only 9% of the people use the word auto to search for a car in Spain. So you'll have a lot more trouble reaching that specific market, and you'll have a lot more success in somewhere like Mexico. So the same search engine, Google, the same language, Spanish, has different keywords depending on the location that you're trying to enter. And here's a really great example of how that looks in practicality. So Google here, Susanna, who's in the UK, and myself, who I'm in Miami, Florida. We both searched for squeakless dog toys because we both have dogs that always bark in the background of webinars and calls, and so we wanted to search for squeakless dog toys. So Google, for me, provided results that I am really familiar with. So things like Amazon.com, Chewy.com, and even Yahoo with a relevant piece of content. However, if we look at what Susanna got, she got things that they mean nothing to me. I have no idea what they are. Things like barksandbunnies.co.uk, timeforpause.co.uk, and even Amazon.co.uk was localized for Susanna in the UK. So the same search on different Google search engines gave us different results. And the reason for this is because Google's taking a look at various different things in the background when pulling up websites in a matter of milliseconds. So keep in mind that translation and keyword research is just one aspect of having a localized site, both for Latin America and for websites around the world. And for in order to make it really easy for search engines to find you, you need to make it as easy as possible for them to realize that your website is specific for that specific market. So for example, Google has a search index of hundreds of billions of pages that it needs to comb through to figure out what is most relevant to that specific user in that specific country. So it takes into consider various things, things like a registered domain name. So a .ar for Argentina and a .br for Brazil. Multilingual navigation, making sure it's mobile enabled, which I'll get into in a second. Making sure the design is appropriate for the countries that you're trying to enter. It's in the local language. Cultural aspects are taken into consideration, so really understanding your buyer persona. All of these things that Google takes a look at before pulling up the most relevant results for the searcher. And in practice, this is what it can look like. So this is a great example of how really good website localization can work. Here you have a website that is targeting prospects in Mexico. So it's on a .mx, it's hosted in Mexico. The search engine optimization has keywords for the local market. And as you can see, the results for 1 month on this B2B site shows that the majority of traffic, so about 87%, is from the main target market, so Mexico. Not only that, but 98% comes from Mexico, Chile, and Colombia combined, showing you that Google thinks that this website is relevant mostly for the Mexican market, and it's barely relevant for other Spanish-speaking countries because it is localized for that specific market. And the reason why this happens is because of how search engines work. And in a place like Latin America, where Google is king, you really need to take that into consideration when going into those markets with your online presence. So that concludes the first particularity about Latin America. So Google reigns. The second thing to mind about the Americas in general, but specifically Latin America, is that it is very mobile friendly. With over 100% of mobile connectivity in the continent, there's no surprise that about 77% of Latin America use their smartphone to access the internet. And ever since the introduction of smartphones in 2007, there's been a huge uptick in usage. This is especially because limited broadband infrastructure means smartphones they're a real economic and business tool versus like a stationary desktop. And this is similar to what we see in a lot of developing markets. The turn to mobile devices has consequences for US and Canadian businesses doing business with people in Latin America. The most obvious, for example, and in our case, is that you have to have a website that is mobile friendly, one that has a really great user experience when looking at it on a mobile device. But it also has other consequences as well. For example, if you have an e-commerce website, you need to have payment options for the mobile devices, and it actually encourages social media more so than just a desktop. Which actually takes me to the third point. So the third trend to keep in mind is that Latin America is extremely social. I know this graph is in Spanish, so please bear with me. But according to this survey, the #1 reason why people access the internet is to check out social media sites. And then it's to check out email and send or receive instant messages. And from a business perspective, this is very different from what we're used to in the States, where the majority of people access the web to check their email and look up information. So you have to keep this in mind when you're looking at a strategy for Latin America. And then the last trend that we wanted to address today is the rise of e-commerce. It is very fast growing, it is mobile, and it has room for even more growth. As you can see by the graph, even before COVID-19, it was projected to grow by about $20 billion in sales by 2022. And it's also important to keep in mind that the main generalist in the market is not Amazon, but instead an Argentine company called Mercado Libre. It is the largest online e-commerce system in Latin America with presence in 18 countries. Brazil is its largest source of revenue at 65%, followed by Argentina and then Mexico. These top 3 countries make up about 95% of Mercado Libre's revenue stream. So if you're looking to go into any of those markets and considering kind of like a marketplace approach, Mercado Libre is definitely the place to be. So I guess with that, I will hand over to Susanna, who will go over some of those main target markets.
Thanks, Samantha. Right, let's talk about some of the big markets, and we've sort of just put them in alphabetical order, really. So that, you know, just again, we can do, if you've got particular concerns, a particular issue, or challenges, or questions about any one of the markets that we're going to go through now, please just pop them into the chat box, or ping me an email separately, and we'll do a little breakout session just on this. But we wanted to just give a sort of quick overview of some of the big markets. After all, we're talking about a whole continent today. So obviously Argentina, starting with Argentina, it is, you know, it is one of the largest economies in Latin America. It has a very vibrant and active internet population, with a strong, as Samantha said, you know, strong engagement in social media use. So, you know, over 3/4 of the people on the internet engage very actively in social media. For that, it is I think the number 5 in the world in terms of social media users compared to population. So it's, you know, they really, and they do spend something like 3.5 hours a day just on social media. So again, reinforcing some of the points that Samantha has made. And again, just looking at that mobile enabled, you know, there are 129% mobile phone connections to people. So you know, it just shows you just how mobile enabled, you know, many people are walking around with 2 connections. You know, the mobile phone is seen as absolutely vital, more so than a desktop or anything else. So you know, for Argentina, a very interesting market as well for internet for that. Then we have obviously the huge Brazil, with 213 million people, and the largest economy in Latin America. It is, despite having some bad times recently, it's still the 9th largest economy in the world. And a very large e-commerce market. A word of warning, it's not an easy e-commerce market. We'll get to that, partly because it has a lot of admin and paperwork for that. Again, mobile phone users, 97% of the population has a smartphone, a mobile phone, I should say. And internet users, about 71% of Brazilians are on the internet. And again, the hours they spend on it is significant. So that, certainly it's 7 hours a day on the internet in Brazil. So I know, just as Samantha was saying, very mobile enabled, very active on social media, and a high percentage of people on the internet. So it is a market that responds incredibly well as well. If you're doing any online marketing, you will get real engagement in Brazil. So we'll talk about that as well. Then Chile. Chile is an interesting market as well. It's obviously smaller, but a very high performing market for Chile. A very urban market as well. Again, we see the same thing. There are 26 million mobile phone connections for a population of 19 million, so 138%. Internet penetration at 82%. So again, these same characteristics again and again, where people are using social media for business as well, and 100% of them are accessing social media via their mobile phones. A market that is also engages very well for online marketing, perhaps a little bit more competitive than some of the other ones we've seen, than Argentina and also Brazil, but a really excellent market, and a market that you'll find a lot of companies, a lot of Canadians, if they're looking at Latin America, it's one of the first ones they'll go to. Mexico, Chile, and also the next one I have on my slide, Colombia, are also favorites. Colombia is actually a pretty large market, the 5th largest economy in Latin America. There's 70% of the population are on the internet, and mobile phone connections again exceeding population size. E-commerce is growing very fast in Colombia too, 20 to 25%, I believe, the latest numbers are. Excuse me. And what's interesting as well is that it's virtually all Colombians, all of them are active on social media, which is pretty amazing. So, we have 35 million people on the internet, and 35 million people are using social media. It's the #1 source. Social media is the #1 source by far for Colombians to find brands, but also to engage with news and search. So people use social media as search engines. They'll go on, and a lot of companies do that. They'll go on to a YouTube or whatever to find things, or they'll go to WhatsApp to ask recommendations. Then just a quick mention also of Peru. Again, a fast-growing market, certainly in terms of e-commerce, one that's really coming up from behind. And even if the numbers are a little bit lower than things that we saw for Chile or for Colombia, where the 73% internet users, you'll see that the stats are the same, or the trends are the same, I should say. High mobile phone, and 100% of people on the internet use social media. So again, those same characteristics anywhere you go in those countries. So that was a quick whirlwind tour. I guess the last thing I should say on Peru is just the prevalence of Snapchat. It's a market where Snapchat is dominant. It's very large compared to most of the other Latin American markets. So we're going to turn back now to Samantha to talk us a little bit about some of the main online business development tools in Latin America.
Excellent. Thank you, Susanna. So we tend to divide these online tools into 2 interrelated sets: your website and then your international online marketing. And there was a time where it was okay, where your webmaster would just go in like once a year and just update a few pages, do a little bit of SEO. But unfortunately, now that the internet is just so competitive, you can't just leave it up to once a year. You have to be very consistent in posting new content, posting blogs and case studies and that sort of thing to indicate to search engines that you're still relevant. And that actually kind of ties into the second piece, which is online marketing. You need to have a regular online marketing, like structured social media outreach campaigns, to make sure that you get found and you're easily to understand in order to do business in Canada and also internationally. And this applies especially to prospects when you're looking at international markets like Latin America. So taking a look at your international buyer personas, and this is something that you need to keep in mind when going into your international markets, but specifically in Latin America. You need to understand how your international buyer persona or your Latin American buyer persona is going to be different from your domestic buyer persona. On this slide, there's a few questions that you could ask yourself, like, are there multiple buyer personas for my export markets? How do they find me? What do they care about? Should I consider my distributor as a buyer persona? So all of these things you need to keep in your mind when you're when you're reaching out to your Latin American prospects. And here's an example from L'Oreal, and we love L'Oreal because they're frequently cited for how spot on their international online marketing is. And if you take a look at this screenshot from one of their new websites, this is L'Oreal USA. And L'Oreal USA, you can see that women are on the top floor. They seem very empowered. They seem like they're making a lot of decisions. You can see that it's a very diverse workplace. It looks like, they're in charge. However, if you look at L'Oreal Mexico, it shows a little bit of a different office environment. It looks like the environment is a little bit more relaxed, and it's one that includes both men and women making decisions or collaborating. I found it kind of interesting that compared to the US and even in our next example with Brazil, that this one was the only one with men in the picture. And it was particularly interesting that the one in the center was also a man. So you need to take this into consideration when going into Mexico. Then L'Oreal Brazil also looks pretty different from the previous two. As you can see by the imagery in the background, you can tell that they are in Brazil based on the water and the mountains in the background. The atmosphere looks modern, but also tied to nature. As you can see, there's some plants and some trees, all things that are pertinent to Brazilian people's lives. And the messaging is even different with their kind of tagline there. They're saying that they have been innovating for the past 60 years to share beauty with all Brazilians, so making it very inclusive. So each buyer persona is clearly different, and their messaging is respectful of that in each of these websites. So if you want to communicate with each of your buyer personas in Latin America, you cannot discount or ignore social media, as we saw in the previous slides. With South and Central America having similar rates of social media use with the US, but actually much larger growth rates, it is a force that businesses should consider when looking at a business strategy in the region and for them to talk to and communicate with their buyer personas. And just to put it into perspective as to how many people are on social media, if you take a look at this graph, Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil all have greater percentages of population on social media than the US, minus Brazil, and all of those are more than Canada. So as involved as the people around you, your friends, your family, your colleagues are involved on social media channels, Latin American countries are even more so, specifically these four. So just to kind of put that into perspective on Canadian life. And one particular platform that we just can't not talk about when we talk about social media is Facebook. So Facebook in Latin America is a little bit different than in the US in the way that people use it. Facebook is used mostly for brand awareness and brand loyalty. And you can actually see why based on the pay-per-click. So cost per click is very competitive in Latin America. You can get what you can get for $100 of Facebook ads and pay-per-click ads. You are getting 600% more bang for your buck in Brazil than you would for Germany. So it's a very attractive market in that sense. And so it's really worth doing a little bit of ad spend in Mexico and Brazil and for other Latin American countries to be able to communicate with your buyer persona and really come across as a brand to be trusted in those markets and really grow your brand awareness. Because as I mentioned, that's what Facebook is really used for. So then taking a look at analytics in these markets and how buyer personas in Latin America kind of interact a little bit differently than other markets. Here is a great example. This is from a Facebook campaign where we were promoting the same product with similar imagery and messaging, although of course localized for Argentina and for Germany. So we were staying pretty relevant to the markets that we were trying to reach out to. So if we look at the results for this specific post, for Argentina, we had a very good engagement rate with 314 reactions. We need to fix those circles. Sorry about that. 314 reactions within the first 24 hours of it being live. In Germany, we can see that the engagements with the post were very low, or actually none. But if we look at the post clicks back to the website, we had much higher conversion rate with 252 clicks on the German post and only 7 clicks in Argentina. So we had a much higher conversion rate in Germany. This is why it's so important to take a look at your analytics and have a real good understanding of your buyer personas and how they interact with Facebook and with other social media sites and your websites. If we had just looked at kind of like vanity metrics, like comments, shares, etc., we would have never known that the Germany campaign was actually more successful in terms of conversions. And in this slide, we have even a more full picture of the buyer's journey and how they interact with our websites. So you need to know how each market you need to understand each market specifically and how they react, so you can take a look at those numbers in several ways. For Argentina, for example, we know, as we saw in the previous post, that people engage pretty easily. They're pretty reactive and responsive, unlike in German, where they're less likely to hit like or comment or share or anything like that. So that's an important bit for companies to understand, because it indicates how much interaction your post needs in order to get conversions. So if we take a look at conversions here, and it's the yellow and green bars throughout both graphs, you can actually see that the level of conversions for both for both Argentina and Germany were the same, or very, very similar, even though Argentina reacts and interacts a lot more with the company than Germans do. So each market is specific, and you need to take that into account when creating your social media posts, when creating your websites, and taking a look at the analytics. So just taking a look at a case study of one of the companies that we work with. This is a company called Amsoil, and we always suggest in Latin America that you create blogs and then promote them on social media in order to get that engagement, in order to get that traffic. So, I don't know, I guess we're kind of stuck on Argentina versus Germany. But I'll keep talking through the slides. So the objective of having a blog post is to drive. What we wanted to do is to drive that mid-level traffic to the website, so to the blog, and we also wanted to boost keyword organic searches. So we created these blog posts and we can actually use them in different markets. So because in Australia they have different weather than in the US, so we can use one in the winter in one place and then one in the summer in the other. So we can repurpose all of these blogs. But point is, we create these blogs, and then we have all of these social media posts to help drive traffic to the blogs. So then we can take a look at the performance metrics on the social media sites as well. So we can take a look at the calls, who clicks on the calls to action. We can take a look at the search queries volume. So if it does help with the organic traffic, it is another way to drive people to your website and drive that brand awareness. And not only that, but it can also help in helping your distributors. So by having localized websites and having traffic that goes to those localized websites, we can connect people in Latin America with their specific Latin American distributors. So we always say that these localized websites work hand in hand with your distributors. We don't want them to we don't want to step on any toes or anything. So we create these websites in order to drive traffic to the distributors so that they end up getting the sale. So by having localized website, by having localized social media marketing in Latin America and in markets all over the world, they work as the #1 sales and marketing tool for distributors in the markets. So I guess Susanna's having trouble switching the slides. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can take control and share on my end. So bear with me. Okay. So I should be sharing my screen. If somebody can just pop a comment or something so I know. that you're seeing something in distributors? Erin, Susanna? Okay, people aren't seeing it on their end. Let's try this again. Sorry about this, you guys. Okay, excellent. We can see it now. Wonderful. So these were the slides that I was just talking through. So helping distributors by having a localized site, we can drive traffic to the specific distributors, being a #1 sales and marketing tool. Okay, so now we have the Atlantic Canada Online Global Programs. So if you've been to some of these webinars before, then these will look a little bit familiar, but we just want to talk through the Online Global Programs. We have this wonderful program with Atlantic Canada where we will create localized websites for you in your top target markets. If that's Latin America, that's great. If there are other markets throughout the world, then that's great too. And we can tip and tailor your online presence accordingly. So we can help you reach new markets. We can help recruit distributors or support your existing distributors. We can help you with building an e-commerce platform to drive your B2C sales. We can do all of that through this Atlantic Canada Online Global Program. And we'll tip and tailor it to your specific goals. So the options that are available for Canadian companies are outlined here, and I'll get into a little bit more detail for a little bit later on in the presentation. But pretty much what we would do is we can either do a limited online presence, so either 1 or 2 markets of your choice with the predefined scope. Option B is a customized market expansion. So if what we're offering in option A just isn't enough, or if we want more functionality, then that would be considered option B. And then option E is e-commerce. So if you would like a fully functioning e-commerce platform for your top target market or markets, we can do that under option E. And there are grants available for these Atlantic Canada Online Global Programs. So to go into option A, we would deliver 1 or 2 best practice country-specific localized websites for your top 1 or 2 target markets. So in this example, we have one in Canada and then one in Mexico. These websites would be based off of your main Canadian website, just localized for your top market or markets. And they would have a predefined scope. So if you choose 2 markets, you would get 12 web pages and 2,000 words each. Or you would get if you choose 1 market, you would have 24 pages and 4,000 words. But the budget is $16,000, and we would go through the entire localization process for these websites, including proper domain names and hosting and SEO keywords and all of these things that we reviewed today that make your online web presence work for you in your target markets. And there are grants available for this program. An example of a company that did this program with us, not once, not twice, but I think 3 times, is Bullman Products. And Bullman Products is a US company, but they went international in the UK, Germany, China, Spain, UAE, Australia, Turkey, Singapore, and Korea. So pretty impressive international online presence. What's interesting about Bullman and what they needed help with was that they have multiple buyer personas in multiple different markets. So they sell paper products, meaning their buyer personas can range from a butcher to a school teacher. So they needed localized marketing campaigns to help attract those buyer personas to their products, to help generate leads, and also to identify distributors, because they did all their business in a B2B fashion. Something else that Bullman Products, one of the problems that Bullman Products had that having a localized website actually fixed, was that they didn't know who their buyer personas were at one point. They didn't know who their end customer was, because they would always purchase from the distributor. The distributor would purchase from Bullman Products. So by having localized websites, their buyer personas would go to their Bullman Products website. Through the website, they would find the appropriate distributor and then purchase the product. So the customer knew who Bullman was, Bullman knew who their customer was, and their distributor still got all of the business. So it was a win-win for everybody. By having these localized websites, their international sales grew at 22% per year, and they're still going international. And we actually still have a wonderful case study video of Ann Bullman, or of Ann talking about Bullman products on our website if you want to check that out. So option B is customized to your specific needs. So if you want to integrate it with a CRM, if you want new content, if you want a brand new website design, then that would be considered option B because it's above and beyond the scope of work of option A. Budget for option B is completely dependent on the functionality of the website and the scope of work. So that's something that we would determine after having a fact finder with you as a company. But please know that there are grants available for option B as well, so you would have some help there. A company that did option B with us is a company called Advanced Super Abrasives, or ASI. ASI had a very old school website, like very old school, to the point where they hated it. They didn't want to take people there. So with COVID-19 and with them not being able to travel as much, because most of their business was done also in a very old school way of traveling to trade shows and trade missions and shaking hands, giving visitor cards. They realized that that wasn't going to be the way that business worked, and at least in the near future. And it was just an opportunity for them to take a look at their online presence and improve it, modernize it to the standard that we have today. So we went ahead and we did a whole website redesign for them for the US market, but then we carried it across to their international markets, including Canada, in this case, Brazil. And by having these brand new localized websites for their top markets with the proper keyword research and everything else in the background, it increased their brand recognition. It increased traffic to the website, both organically and paid. And they also got a lot of traffic from social media. So Advanced Super Abrasives, ASI, has really taken advantage of this modern look and feel, and it has only helped them in business as of right now. Then our last option is option E for e-commerce. So this option, we would create a optimally localized website for your top target market or markets with a fully functioning e-commerce platform. So we're talking the proper currencies, the carts, all of the specific plugins, the backend integrations, and the budget for this specific program is completely dependent on your scope of work. So if you have 20 pages, 100 SKUs, it would be small. If you have more than 100 pages and 500 SKUs, it would be considered extra large. So the price and the budget definitely depends on the functionality and the scope of work, but there are also grants available for this part of the Atlantic Canada Online Global Program. In one company that has taken advantage of option E is Vapor Pins, and they actually have an e-commerce platform for Brazil. That's what they originally came to us for. They actually had their US or another web design company trying to create their Brazilian e-commerce platform, and they were just falling flat. It wasn't translated properly based off of what their Brazilian partners were saying. It wasn't a functioning platform. It didn't have the proper currencies. Like, it just had a lot of problems. So they reached out to us, and we were able to create a fully functioning Brazilian e-commerce website that they still use to this day. We actually went ahead and we also did Spanish-speaking Latin America and also Australia and New Zealand. And with an e-commerce platform and with your online presence in general, it's always a sort of to support it, to help drive traffic to it. So we were able to do localized marketing campaigns for the Brazilian market, and also paid and organic search engine optimization to help drive that traffic. So in the end, we helped increase their sales, their brand recognition in the market, and also their business growth through their e-commerce platforms, all because of a properly localized e-commerce platform along with localized online marketing. And this is just examples. And with that, I'll hand back to Erin to talk about these dedicated resources.
Thanks, Samantha. So thanks for providing the information. If anyone is interested in applying for any of these three options, it's all the same application form. And then there'll be a meeting afterwards with IBT Online to kind of go over what your actual requirements are, create that kind of roadmap for what that's going to look like moving forward. But the first step is to apply online. The links will be in the chat here shortly, I believe, and both English and French application, so pick the language of your choice to apply in. And applications are open right through till the end of the webinar series, and then we'll be making some decisions on those. If there's any questions, if you've got any issues as you're filling them out, please don't hesitate to pop me an email or give me a call, and I can troubleshoot for you. I think that's all that I needed to cover on that, unless there's any questions. When we get to the question period, you can put them in the chat and I'll stick around to answer those.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Erin. Yes, please put them in the chat if you have any questions. So action points, takeaways, and Q&A. So if you take anything away from this webinar, it's these points. So Latin America Online, it's mobile first, it's extremely social, it's pretty cheap, especially taking a look at like Facebook campaigns. They react pretty easily on social media and on Facebook, Instagram. So keep that in mind when taking a look at your analytics. There is a bit of a challenging conversion, as we saw in our example, where you have to have really good engagement in order to get some sort of conversion. So keep that in mind. And it has a developing e-commerce environment. So if you're thinking about having your own e-commerce platform or using something like Mercado Libre, just know that that is totally viable in Latin America, and it's just going to grow with improved infrastructure, both on the internet and on the ground. So that's Latin America Online. So, and then just in general, why do Canadian exporters need online business development tools? You need them because not only Latin America, but the world is online. So everybody from your clients to your future employees to suppliers, distributors, partners, all of these people are online and they're interacting with your tools through their local online environments. So they're taking a look at local websites and local social media presence when interacting with businesses all over the world. And we need to prepare for this new online normal. I think a lot of people think this, that the future is going to look more like it does now than it did in the past, where your online presence matters, and it matters the way that you portray yourself to the world and to your specific target markets. So you need to have effective online business development tools, because that is essentially your face to your online prospects. It's your business card, it's your brand. So by having localized websites and online marketing, it'll help you be found, be understood, and be easier to do business with in your top markets. So if you enjoyed today, and I'm sorry again for those technical difficulties, hopefully they won't happen again in the future, but we do have 5 more webinars in this series, including multiple countries in Asia, along with Europe and the US. So please go to this URL on the bottom, and we'll make sure to put it in the chat as well. And you can register for these webinars to learn more about those specific online environments. Please take advantage of the Atlantic Canada Online Global programs to help you. They just want to help you grow. So take advantage of it, and we are looking forward to getting in touch with you in due time. With next steps, please check out the webinars and sign up, as I mentioned. Get your team together and see if this is the right opportunity for your company. So if localized websites make sense for you. And make sure to apply. There is a deadline in 1 month's time to apply for this program. And as I understand, there are limited spots. So please apply for these specific programs using those links. And with that, I can open it up to any questions. Susanna, do we have you back for our question and answer session?
I am back. I apologize. Everything just, disappeared, zapped off like that all of a sudden. It was pretty surreal. Yes, and I did see that there's a couple of questions, also a couple of requests to have to share some of the stats, to share the slide deck. And I'm happy to attach the slide deck to the recording. So I'll send, especially as we messed up technologically, which is not a good thing. But so we will, or my internet connection collapsed. But so we will send out a copy of the slide deck to you as well. And if there are any of the stats that you want to have more information on, let us know and we can get that. Samantha, a quick one for you. Is there a way of having sort of one website to connect several countries in Latin America? Like, can I do, 2 or 3 countries at once?
Yes. So if you aren't looking at going into one specific country, there is the option of having like a .lat domain name for Latin America. And you can do the keyword research so that it is a little bit more all-encompassing. So there definitely is a way to get more than just one country through your website.
And that's the .lat that you said, right?
Yep.
Okay. A question I have as well coming in is social media, and should I just let my distributor do that? Is that not easier?
So we always suggest that you control your own online marketing, and that's just to help with your brand, your brand control, your brand messaging. They can absolutely help. Like they can proofread, make sure that your posts are spelled correctly and it's portraying the right message. They can even contribute by creating blogs or anything like that for your localized website. But we always suggest that you as a company maintain control of your messaging, both in your social media and on your website. Right.
Okay. I have, and that's probably drawing us to a close. I'm aware of time, and you've been patient with us especially with our technical issue today. That was impressive. Thank you, Samantha, for stepping in, especially in the breach there. And Aaron, as always, for attending, for giving information, for helping us to present, and helping Atlantic Canadian companies to engage and get knowledgeable online, and also to apply for the Atlantic Canada Online Global Programs. Thank you all so much, and we hope to see you on our next webinar, which is all about online in Europe. An exciting one. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Thank you all for attending, and we'll speak and see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.